Albert Einstein famously said, we cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking we used when we created them. And today, many of us here are looking for answers. And to get to that solution, we need to almost forget what we've been taught, what we believe, and what we even have experienced in our life to get to that solution. So pictures speak 1,000 words, and since my time is limited, I'm going to be using a lot of pictures. And so what you see here is the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. These are the brain, spinal cord, and all the main nerves in the arms and legs of the body. And this is just the main nerves. And my talk today is about understanding how our body's communicating language back and forth inside of us and between our environment. This is a feature of the nervous system. It's called the autonomic nervous system. Think automatic, okay? Your heart, your lungs, your kidneys. Thank goodness you don't have to think about them working all the time. And this is a neuron. We have over 100 billion of these in our brain, but they're found throughout the body, up and down the spinal cord, and most interestingly, they're found inside the heart. Good morning, my name is Dr. Kevin Jarina. I'm a certified wellness expert, Reiki master, quantum energy healer, and a chiropractic physician. And you may be wondering, there's a lot of stuff going on there. And it is, but it all is founded on the same philosophy. And so you hear chiropractic, just don't think cracking necks and fixing back pain. It's a lot more than that. So let's start with the philosophy quickly. The body, number one, is self-healing and self-regulating. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, if you cut yourself versus cutting a dead body, all the same body parts, all the same components, all the tissues are there, but you get better, but the body doesn't. There's this life essence within us. Self-regulating, we already briefly mentioned this. These are the things operating automatically in your body. Like I said, thank goodness we don't have to remember. Now, number two, the purpose of the brain and nervous system is to control and coordinate the functions of all the cells and tissues, and to adapt it. Adapt to you. You are the organism. Adapt you to your environment. So what's around you, you become. So is there anything the nervous system doesn't coordinate? No. We literally live our lives through our nervous system. Number three, if the nervous system has interference, we call that subluxation in chiropractic. Your body cannot function optimally and is no longer self-healing and self-regulating at 100%. The longer interference is present to the nervous system, the more devastating the health effects are. And the job of the chiropractor is to analyze, locate, correct the subluxations and the causes. And that's the most interesting part in my opinion. So when we free the body from the interference, this allows you to regain your optimal health, well-being, longevity, and your quality of life. So to recap, chiropractors correct the subluxations, show ways to quit recreating the problems, and so you can feel better, prevent problems in the future, reverse the effects of the aging process, and have the best life possible. So here's the problem, the cause of the subluxation. You probably know it, stress. All right, there's three kinds of stress. There's physical stress, there's mental emotional stress, and there's chemical stresses. Remember, my job as a chiropractor is to check the nervous system, correct the subluxations, and show ways to not recreate the problem over and over again. But today, we're here talking about the secret language of the body. And our body's communicating with us constantly, both checking in what's inside happening and on the external, on the outside. So this doctor, Dr. Albert, he wrote a book called Silent Messages, and he describes and shows us studies about how 93% of how we communicate is nonverbal. And you can argue up to 95% as low as 75%, but that's a lot. That's a lot of things that are going on without us speaking about it. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you some images that show us how our body is sensing and receiving these messages. Okay, this is just an image of sensing the skin surface. Okay, so if someone comes into my office and there's hand numbness, well, if you look at the green pattern, it goes to the upper back and neck area. So with that person who has hand numbness, I know to immediately check those areas to determine if there's something interfering with that brain-body part connection. It's one of the most common areas to have interference. What I mean by that is the spine is an area of high susceptibility because of all the movement we rely on of it. Here's the automatic nervous system. We touched briefly on it, and this is referring to if, say, someone has a lung issue. Okay, I need to go find out where the lung connects to the spine, and in that area, if there's pressures and tensions and things out of balance, well, then those lungs cannot operate as 100%. And this is true for every organ of the body, every muscle of the body, every sense within the body. Okay, now this is a different type of pain pattern. Okay, this is called sclerotenacious pain. This is more of a bone-on-bone pain. So if someone comes into the office and they have pain on their thigh, and it's not following the skin sensation pattern, well, then I know to immediately check the low back L3 to find out, is this the cause? And if it's not the cause, well, there's another check for me to do. But I'm going through lists of checks to find out what part of the body is the causative factor. Now, let's go into body language. Okay, which person, which image looks more dominant, and which image looks more lackadaisical? I bet you know the answer. What about this person? Bored versus interested. I bet you already know that too. See, we've been studying nonverbal communication since the day you were born, yet you never took a class. It's inherent in how we operate in this world. So are there other forms of language that our body's trying to communicate with us that we don't know? Well, we know about motion, stillness, hunger and thirst, temperature and vibration, but there's also an emotional language, and there's also a symbolic language in our body. And so this is where many people, they use it every day, though they don't know what it's trying to say to them, and they don't know how to read the signals that are coming in. This researcher, Dr. Candace Pert, she spent her whole entire career, and she's now since passed, and she describes the feature of when we have an experience like sadness, what happens to all the cells in our body. And literally, the DNA begins to shrink and protect itself, and the cells start operating in a different way. And then when we shift and we start to feel happiness, the cells begin to operate more effectively and efficiently, and that DNA literally starts to relax and lengthen. And what happens is every cell has like a catcher's mitt to receive the happy signal or the sad signal. And there's a different kind of catcher's mitt for the happy and the sad. And for every emotional state you could possibly think about, there's a different receptor for that. And the cells, when they catch that signal, they have different modes of operation for each of those feelings that are going on inside your body in response to what's happening in your life. So literally, how we react to something causes changes in each of the cells to occur instantaneous. It's quite remarkable. And we've all had these experiences. When you get that good news on the phone, how excited are you? And your whole body's just jumping for joy. This is also found in some of the oldest studies that we have in natural healing. This is from the traditional Chinese medicine. It's called the 5-element theory. And in this theory, they assign different organs, they assign different body parts, and there's also emotions assigned to each organ. And there's quite a large amount of knowledge built up to categorize each emotional state and where it connects to in the body. In my personal practice, I have noted that every illness state, every disease state that walks in the door typically has a very strong emotional need to be worked on. Now, body symbolism. Okay, we refer to these things all the time in our life. Think about shoulders, carrying the load, burden the responsibility, shouldering the responsibility. These are things we refer to that way. We have hands, holding on, letting go, giving and receiving. Feet, action steps of life, or putting on the brakes. We use these terms in our common everyday language, though when we have a problem in our life, Like we're not taking those action steps we need to take. It's very interesting how often foot pain shows up for this type of people. I go pretty deep into this topic in my book, Decode Your Pain. So if that interests you, I highly recommend you reading it. So what happens if you read my book, you learn strategies to detect and increase your stresses, but you're still subluxated? That's the slide. There we are. Your body cannot function. It's no longer self-healing or self-regulating at 100%. So how important is it to keep your nervous system free of interference? It is critical. So I'm going to stick with one story today. This is my favorite story in my career at this point. This young gentleman, Mark, 5 years old, came to my practice. Pretty much mom was at a last-ditch effort. And he had been to every specialist up and down this northeast corridor. He was progressively going more and more blind. And so much so, he would hold baby, the books very close to his face. He wasn't playing with his brother, wasn't roughhousing, wasn't doing anything a normal 5-year-old boy should be doing. We came across, I was able to show the mother what I was finding, and we were able to come to an agreement about our treatment plan. And after 3 months, literally this boy was jumping off couches, playing soccer and diving around, reading books at almost a normal distance, playing just like every 5-year-old boy always does. And it just changed the family's life. And it really showed me the power. That chiropractors like myself are able to deliver for people. And it's so simple just to release that tension. And we all deal with it. And it's a simple thing. And we just allow the nervous system to do what is intended. And we feed our body well, we think well, and we do these simple activities, life is restored. So I always like to provide a time-sensitive offer because it's changed my life. And if you decide to come in and find out if something I can help you with in the next week, in the next 7 days, I'll be offering a 25% discount on my initial services. And it's just something I love to do. So you can find me at drkeving.com. I'm launching, later this week, I'm launching learnwithdrkevin.com. It is an online internet e-course site. And I do community outreach programs and talks. And I like to thank my sponsors, Skin and Process, Supreme Nutrition, and MediEarth. These are phenomenal products that feed the body. And I want to thank you guys for attending because you are here making strides for your life to make yourself better, to help other people get better. And I want to thank you. Thanks for your time. Please go attend your next talk.